Hey everybody, I'm Mark Walters of BigFanboy.com, and I'm here once again at the Dallas International Film Festival. And look who I've got with me, Hunter Carson from Paris, Texas, the 30th anniversary of the film. Let's talk about that.
Watching this over and over again, for me, is sort of like reading a really good book over and over again. You know, each time you pick up different nuances.
Sure. Yeah.
So this is, great for me to watch it again and again and again and again. I mean, 10 years ago we did 20, and we were at Sundance, and it was me and Vim and Sam and Harry Dean, my dad, the writer Kit Carson.
Yeah.
He adapted the screenplay, and I think that was it actually. Never done one with Nastasia. I've never done one with Aurora, and I've never done one with Dean
Sure.
Stockwell.
Yeah.
Dean Stockwell was a child actor.
Yeah.
And
Little Boy Blue, or what was
Right.
that? Was it Little Boy Blue
Think
hair?
so.
Blue hair. He had the blue hair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah. I'm trying to think of the earliest thing he ever did because I've hung out with Dean, and he's a wonderfully eccentric
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's boy. It's amazing how long that guy's been around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For a very long time, and he remained in front of the camera. I've moved behind the camera. Working with Dean when I was a kid, he was definitely the most genuinely considerate actor for working with me as a child. I didn't know that he was a child actor until years after I even did that.
Yeah.
Harry Dean definitely taught me the most. Nastasia was the kindest, and that sort of relationship was great because, we had one scene together, and it's the closing scene of the film.
Yeah.
And she was so great and wonderful and nice, and we would sit in her trailer at lunch, and she actually, when I first met her, they were getting ready for the famous scene in the club, in the red light club. So I met her when they were doing that. So she was in the mindset of that.
Mm-hmm.
And really sitting and talking with her was great. Like I said, she would invite me into her trailer for lunch, and we would sit and we would hang out. It was very much of an actor's film. It was very much, everybody was a character actor. The lead, Harry Dean Stanton, is a character actor. I've talked to him quite a bit in preparation for this.
When you're working with a guy like Vim, another wonderfully eccentric guy, like, could you talk a little bit about his sensibilities in putting that film together, and what do you remember most about him at that time?
Okay, what I remember most. Picture this. Vim is a very, very tall man.
Yeah.
He's very tall, and he had this wardrobe that he would wear. So picture this. You have this very, very tall man with an accent with incredibly thick glasses. He had suspenders, black pants, and a white T-shirt, and he wore that the whole time. It was summer, so if it cooled off, he'd put a jacket on. So imagine that, and he's the one that's telling me what to do. And a lot of what he did with me, and I can't speak for the other actors because I wasn't really observing them at that point in time. I was just really kind of focusing. A lot of what he did with me was he would say, come here. Okay, so this is what you're gonna say. So how do you want to say that? And then we'd kind of talk about it. And this is all done on set, in the rehearsals. There was very little. He didn't really come to your trailer and talk to you. You did it on set. You did it in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And, then he'd say stuff like, well, before you say this line, count to 2 in your head. Then look at Harry Dean.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff. So he was really very much concerned with the performance that I was giving at the point in time when the camera was rolling. He wasn't that concerned with me when I was off camera.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a great relationship. I know he's eccentric. You watch his films and you realize that they're, the body of work of an auteur, and he's really making something. You know what I mean? The film that was Paris, Texas, sort of ended when Dean Stockwell and Harry Dean drove back to L.A. And then the film that became Paris, Texas was very much an organic reworking of the journey while we were shooting it. You know, they would go and I shared a trailer with my dad. I shared a space with my father, Kit, and he would work, he would write, he would ask me a question, or he would say, how would you say this? And then he would go off, and I think they were basically working 2 weeks ahead of what the scene they were shooting that very day. And they were continually financing it. So it's just one of these things where everything was sort of rolling along as we rolled through Texas and through California and through the desert and into Houston. You know what I mean? There was this sort of, roll and grill a go-go. As far as Vim and it was a wonderful experience, and he's absolutely the most talented director I've worked with.
Yeah. It seems like that was a really good time for movies, too.
Yeah.
Like, when you look back on the early 80s and a lot of the stuff that came out of that period, especially compared to now.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there were so many great films that were coming out on a consistent basis. It's hard to find a dud from that time period. But, you know, when you have these films like this that really are kind of endearing classics, I think it shows us just how much the movie industry nowadays is kind of... I don't know if I want to say given up, but it just seems like there's not as many like instant classics today as there used to be. Do you find that? I mean, like obviously when you guys were making this, you had no idea what kind of effect it was going to have on the long term.
I was 7.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, it does seem like when you look back at that time, there's a lot of really great films that came from the early 80s, and you were very much a part of that, you know, history.
I think, yeah, and my family absolutely as well. And I think that I have heard Paris, Texas called the best film of the 80s. I've read about it. To say that period in the 80s really worked for film, and I think it's because you could tell a story at that point in time that was about people, and you could focus on their relationships. And I think that's what the audience wanted. I think that's what people wanted to go see. I mean, remember, movies were a couple of bucks.
Yeah.
You know? So you could watch them over and over again. There wasn't anything stopping you. You know, popcorn was $1.
Yeah.
Movies were $2, you know? So
I remember going to a movie theater and watching a movie 2 times in a row.
right,
Yeah.
and lots of people do that. It's like that was when, you know, binge viewing began. You know, now we'll sit and we'll watch 16 episodes of Breaking Bad.
Sure.
You know, back then we just watched Ghostbusters 5 times in a row.
That's the movie I was thinking of when I.
That's really funny. Okay, this is a true story. When Ghostbusters came out, I went and saw it. For about a week or two, every day, every night. What do you want to do? I want to go watch Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
So after about 3 days, my parents would sit in there and watch the movie with me. After about 3 viewings, they gave up.
Yeah.
What do you want to do? I want to go watch. Okay. They'd drive up to the Man's Chinese. See ya. We'll be back.
Yeah.
I would go watch Ghostbusters. I'd come out. I'd stand there in the street corner. They'd pull up, and I'd get in. And I literally did this for about 7 days. Ghostbusters is the best film I've ever seen at that point.
Yeah.
It still holds number 2, shares number 2 spot in my list of all times. But I think but see, even Ghostbusters was a story. It had special effects, and it was about ghosts, but it was a story about people.
Yeah.
I mean, Dan Aykroyd sells his family home to buy the police station. You know what I mean? Bill Murray falls in love with a demon. You know what I mean? It's a great story about people.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that was the point in time when film and story came together, and I know it'll happen again.
Yeah. I think. Well, it was also kind of predating. I mean, even though VCRs were around, like not everybody had a VCR in their home. So if you wanted to experience a movie, you had to go to a movie theater. And it was also kind of before the days where like a lot of the big Hollywood paychecks and the big egos really came into play. So you had films like Paris, Texas, where you had these wonderful actors all together in the same movie, and it wasn't about, oh, how much money do we have to devote of the budget to this one person? It was just about the work and the art of it, and bringing together a great cast and making a really good finished product.
Why do you think Vim cast character actors to be the main characters?
I would like to think, because like myself, I'm a huge fan of character actors, and I think that he realizes that these guys are the guys that don't get the spotlight, but that are also but always end up being memorable. And I think that if you can take a guy like that is a workhorse actor, that does it for the love of the art and not for the paycheck, and assemble a great cast of people like that, the end result is going to be, it's going to work. It's going to work because these guys really love what they're doing, and it shows on screen. It's not about, the marquee name or anything. It's about the work. That would be my take on it.
I don't know why he did it that way, but I think you're probably right. Another fun thing is one of the PAs on that was Allison Anders. You're a big film fan, so you know who that is. And I talked to her before this, and when we were talking about 30 years, and it's amazing that group of people was actually super talented. I mean, when you have a PA that is really truly not a PA but an award-winning director, you have done something right. You know what I mean? There was something very right, very honest, and very creative about the whole set. It was one of those things.
It's kind of hard to believe that it has been 30 years. It really, it definitely ages us to a certain extent.
Yeah.
But when you look back on that, like talking to people that have seen the movie, what are some of the things that people say to you about the film that really kind of sticks with you after all this time has passed? Other than, oh my God, it's been 30 years.
Other than, oh my God, it's been 30 years. People have commented to me that it's a Western, and that has sort of stuck with me. You could say any movie's anything. So yeah, it kind of is a Western, because it's about, looking for something, and the greatest Western, The Searchers, is about looking for something.
Yeah.
And it has definitely some roots with that film specifically.
Sure.
I think that is kind of the thing that has stuck with me the most. In that, the fact you've got everybody from Europe at the top. The top was all people from Europe, and then you have mixed in with us. You've got French actors and you've got Polish actors, and it sort of became a very American film in every sense of that word. And I strongly feel that if a wonderful Western could be made in the 80s that was current, that is it.
Yeah.
It hits all spectrum. So to answer your question, I think people telling me that that's, a Western is something that really helped me figure out what that movie's really about.
Let's take a second and talk about what you do a lot of film work and stuff for yourself now. Talk about what you've got coming up. What are you working on right now, and what's next for you?
I do a lot of television, actually. I have really found my journey has at this point brought me into like the television world. So what I've got is a show called The American Dream that is a sports-based show that's coming out on Fox Southwest. I've got a show called Everyday Rockstar that is being sold right now. And I've got a show that is called The Fire Asylum, which is right now in development. And those are the three things that are at the forefront of what's going on right now. I've got my feature work right now. I'm really kind of focused on a group of books called Salvaged, and some of us that are spread across the country from the southeast to the southwest and here, we're kind of focused on creating something out of that series of books.
Very cool. Hunter Carson, Paris, Texas, 30 years. Hard to believe, but still a wonderful, wonderful film. And thank you very, very much for coming back. You're no stranger to DIF. It's always
Absolutely.
great having you here.
Thank you. Thank you very much.